Carlsbad Army Airfield, New Mexico, May 15, 1943. A B-24 bomber screams across the dawn, its belly coughing up a metal canister into the desert sky. Soldiers below, squinting through the glare, brace for a test already teetering on disaster. Dr. Lytle Adams, a dentist turned reckless visionary, clutches his clipboard, sweat streaking his face. The canister's meant to parachute open, releasing 1,000 Mexican free-tailed bats, each strapped with a napalm bomb to spark a controlled blaze. Instead, it smashes into the dirt, and all hell breaks loose. One bat, jarred awake by the impact, rips free. Its half-ounce napalm payload, ticking like a doomsday clock, catches the sun's glint. It weaves, wild and disoriented, then lands on a fuel truck. A spark. A roar. The truck detonates, fireballs surging upward, engulfing the hangar, the barracks, a general's polished jeep. Hundreds of bats, their bombs live, explode from the wreckage in a shrieking swarm, trailing flames like cursed comets. Soldiers dive for cover, swearing, as the base becomes a furnace. The general, veins throbbing, roars, "Who's responsible for this insanity?" Adams, eyes alight with twisted awe, whispers, "They're perfect." He scribbles a note as embers fall, unfazed by the inferno he's unleashed. This is how a dentist's unhinged dream torched a military base. To understand the fire, you have to go back to the spark, December 1941, when Lytle Adams saw bats not as vermin, but as vengeance. Deep in Carlsbad Caverns, New Mexico, the air pulses with chaos. 1,000,000 Mexican free-tailed bats churn through the dark, a living storm of wings and shrieks. Lytle Adams, 42, stands at the cave's mouth, his dentist's coat traded for a creased jacket. He's no general, just a guy from Irwin, Pennsylvania, who patches teeth and chases ideas too big for his small-town life. But here, watching bats move with lethal grace, his mind ignites. Each bat, no bigger than a fist, can haul its weight in cargo. Adams' thoughts race. Japan's cities, wood and paper, begging for a match, fill the newsreels. Pearl Harbor struck days ago, December 7th, 1941, and America's hungry for payback. The bats' precision, their knack for vanishing into shadows, feels like a taunt to clunky war machines. One dives, splattering guano on a rock with eerie accuracy. Adams smirks, voice low and biting. If bats can hit a mark with guano, why not rain hell itself? Back in his Irwin office, surrounded by dental tools and the sting of antiseptic, Adams trades sleep for obsession. Over bitter coffee, he sketches a plan, bats, each a living torch, rigged with napalm payloads. No heavy bombs, no pilots in the crosshairs. Just a canister dropped from a bomber, bursting open at dawn, bats fanning out over miles to roost in Japan's attics and rafters. Timed napalm, sticky, unforgiving, would ignite, turning Tokyo into a firestorm before the morning bells. It's insane genius, a brutal fusion of biology and destruction. He sees the headlines, "Bats burn Japan." His hands tremble, not from doubt, but from the rush of rewriting war. The plan's a gamble. The military will call him a lunatic, a dentist pitching bat bombs. But Adams has a card to play. He once won over Eleanor Roosevelt at a charity dinner, spinning yarns about dental tech. If he can reach her, he can reach the president. He grabs a typewriter, keys clacking in the empty office. "Dear Mrs. Roosevelt," he types, "I have a weapon to break Japan." His words are steady, but his heart slams. He's not just a tooth fixer now. He's a man with a spark to set the world ablaze. Days later, the letter lands in Washington. Adams expects a brush-off, maybe a polite note calling him deranged. Instead, a shock, President Franklin D. Roosevelt reads it, jots, "This man is not a nut. It's wild, but worth a look," and sends it to the War Department. By January 1942, Adams is in D.C., facing a room of brass in stiff uniforms. A colonel, eyes sharp, leans in. "Bats, Adams? You're for real." His voice drips with scorn, like he's indulging a dreamer. Adams doesn't blink. "Dead real, sir. Japan's a powder keg. Bombs miss. Bats don't." He breaks down the math, bats' strength, their stealth, their power to slip where B-29s can't. He paints napalm's relentless burn, fires racing faster than any raid. The room goes quiet. The colonel's sneer softens. By the meeting's end, Adams has a code name, Project X-Ray, a budget, and a chance to make his vision real. He leaves D.C., his dental practice a ghost, and heads west. The bats, he knows, are waiting. That night, back in Irwin, Adams sits in his office, a cheap whiskey in hand. The radio spits news of Japanese advances, each word a knife. He raises his glass to the shadows. To wings, he says, voice edged with irony. And the hell they'll bring. The bats, oblivious in their caves, surge through the night, unaware they're about to become pawns in a war they didn't start. Adams downs his drink, his smirk grim. He's either on the verge of history or a spectacular crash. Either way, he's all in. Wright Field, Ohio, spring 1942. The air hums with the drone of engines and the sharp tang of machine oil. Inside a squat, windowless lab, Dr. Lytle Adams stands before a table littered with blueprints, bat skulls, and a half-empty coffee pot. His dentist's polish is gone, replaced by a feverish edge, eyes darting like the creatures he's betting his future on. The War Department's given him a shot, Project X-Ray, a bat bomb scheme wild enough to make generals choke on their cigars. But ideas don't burn cities. Execution does. And for that, Adams needs a team to turn his madness into reality. He's assembled a crew that's all business, no fluff. Dr. Jack von Blocher, a bat biologist with a beard like steel wool, knows chiropterans better than most men know their wives. Dr. Louis Fieser, a Harvard chemist who birthed napalm, fidgets with a lighter, his mind already cooking up new ways to make fire stick. Captain Henry Stiles, an Army Air Forces engineer with a jaw carved from granite, glares at Adams' sketches like they've personally insulted him. A handful of technicians, gearheads and a refrigeration expert, hover in the background, ready to wrestle the impossible into shape. Adams, the civilian dreamer, feels the weight of their stares. "Gentlemen," he starts, voice steady, "we're here to make bats the deadliest Air Force Japan's ever seen." Stiles snorts, folding his arms. "Bats, Doc? I've built bombers, not pet shops." His tone's sharp, laced with the kind of sarcasm that cuts deeper than a blade. "You sure you didn't mix up your dental charts with a sci-fi novel?" Adams grins, undeterred. "Bombers get shot down, Captain. Bats slip through. Japan's a tinderbox, and we're the match." He taps a diagram. A canister to hold 1,040 Mexican free-tailed bats, dropped from AB 24 at dawn, parachuting open to unleash a swarm of living firebombs. The room quiets. Even Stiles leans in, caught by the sheer audacity. The team gets to work, zeroing in on the bats. Von Blocher, who spent years crawling through caves, pushes for Mexican free-taileds. "They're small, strong, and there's millions of them in the Southwest," he says, voice gruff. "Each can carry 15 grams, enough for a nasty surprise." He holds up a preserved bat, its wings spread like a grim trophy. "Nature's stealth bombers, gentlemen. Too bad they don't take orders." His smirk is dry, a nod to the chaos they're about to unleash. Fieser, meanwhile, is in his element. The man who made napalm a household name for destruction is tasked with crafting H-2 incendiary capsules, half-ounce napalm bombs with time delay fuses. He scribbles formulas, muttering about burn rates and adhesion. "Napalm's sticky," he says, flicking his lighter. "It'll cling to wood, paper, flesh. Japan won't just burn, it'll melt." His casual nihilism lands like a grenade, and Adams catches von Blocher wincing. "Problem, Jack?" Fieser asks, eyebrow raised. "Only that we're turning bats into suicide bombers," von Blocher shoots back, voice edged with mordant irony. "Hope they don't unionize before we're done. The first hurdle is attachment. Fieser's capsules need to stay on the bats without killing them. Surgical clips are a bust. Bats wriggle free or bleed out, their squeaks a haunting protest." Von Blocher, gluing a prototype to a sedated bat, shakes his head. "Congratulations, little guy," he mutters. "You're the world's smallest martyr." The glue works, but it's messy, and every dead bat feels like a jab to the biologist's conscience. Adams, pacing, brushes it off. "Collateral damage," he says, though his voice wavers. War doesn't wait for perfection. Next comes transport. Bats need to stay dormant until deployment, or they'll burn the bomber before it leaves the runway. Stiles, the engineer, designs a refrigerated unit to chill them into hibernation. "We're building an icebox for an air force," he quips, his sarcasm biting as he oversees technicians welding the prototype. The bat fridge, as they dub it, is a hulking beast humming with coolant. During a test, a technician opens it too soon, and a bat flaps free, smacking Stiles in the face. "Great," he growls, swatting it away. Now they're staging a jailbreak. The canister itself is Stiles' domain. It's a bomb-shaped shell, meant to hold 1,040 bats in stacked trays, with a parachute to slow its fall and a mechanism to spring open at altitude. "If this thing jams," Stiles warns, Your bats are just expensive confetti. He's relentless, tweaking gears and testing hinges, his sarcasm a shield against the project's insanity. I used to build things that flew straight, he tells Adams. Now I'm playing zookeeper for your flying Molotovs. By summer, the lab's a pressure cooker. Adams pushes the team hard, his dentist's charm giving way to obsession. He envisions 1,000,000 bats raining fire on Japan, each one a silent assassin. The military, desperate for anything to shift the Pacific's tide, pumps money into the project, but skepticism lingers. A visiting major, eyeing the bat fridge, mutters, "This better work, Adams, or you're back to pulling teeth." Adams nods, but his gut twists. Failure's not an option, not when he's staked everything on this. Late one night, Feezer tests a napalm capsule in the lab. The flame flares brighter than expected, singeing his sleeve. He laughs, unbothered, and tosses the lighter to Von Blocher. "Your turn, Batman. Make 'em burn." Von Blocher catches it, his expression grim. "If we pull this off," he says, voice low, "we're not just winning a war. We're rewriting what it means to fight one." The words hang heavy, a reminder of the line they're crossing. Adams, alone after hours, stares at a caged bat, its eyes glinting in the dim light. He thinks of Pearl Harbor, of cities yet to burn. "You're my ticket to history," he whispers, his smirk wry. Or the punchline to a very bad joke. The bat squeaks, indifferent, and Adams downs his coffee. The team's ready, or as ready as they'll ever be. The bats, the fire, the war, it's all coming together. Or it's about to blow up in their faces. Carlsbad Army Airfield, New Mexico, May 15, 1943. The desert dawn is a blade of light, slicing through the haze as a B-24 bomber climbs, its engines snarling. Dr. Lytle Adams stands on the tarmac, his clipboard a lifeline, eyes locked on the plane's belly. The team spent months turning his bat bomb dream into reality. A canister packed with 1,040 Mexican free-tailed bats, each glued to a napalm payload, ready to scatter and ignite. Today's test is make or break. A chance to prove Project X-Ray isn't just a dentist's fever dream. Soldiers line the runway, their murmurs skeptical, while Captain Henry Stiles, arms crossed, mutters, "If this flops, Adams, you're buying the beers." The canister drops, its parachute blooming like a grim flower. It's supposed to glide, open, and release the bats to roost in mock targets. Instead, it malfunctions, plummeting to the dirt with a sickening crunch. A single bat, warmed by the sun, breaks free, its half-ounce napalm capsule ticking like a heartbeat. It staggers through the air, then lands on a fuel truck. A spark. A boom. The truck erupts, flames surging, swallowing the hangar, barracks, and a general's jeep in a roaring inferno. Hundreds of bats, roused and armed, swarm out, their bombs igniting mid-flight, streaking the sky like burning hornets. Soldiers scatter, cursing, as the base becomes a pyre. The general, face crimson, storms toward Adams. "Whose idiot idea was this?" he bellows, dodging a flaming bat. Adams, staring at the blaze, murmurs, "Proof of concept, sir." His voice is calm, but his eyes gleam with manic awe. Feezer, nearby, smirks, kicking at a smoldering crate. "Well, Doc," he drawls, "your bats don't follow orders, but they sure know how to throw a party." The sarcasm lands like ash, and Von Blocher, shielding his face, mutters, "Party? This is a funeral for our careers." The Carlsbad catastrophe isn't the first test, just the loudest. Since spring 1942, the team's been pushing Project X-Ray to its limits, chasing Adams' vision of bats as living firebombs. Early trials at Wright Field were messy. Bats waking mid-drop, napalm capsules misfiring, glue failing under strain. Von Blocher, the bat biologist, spent weeks perfecting the hibernation process, chilling bats in the bat fridge to keep them dormant until release. "They're not soldiers," he'd grumbled, voice thick with irony. "They're just trying to survive our insanity." Stiles, the engineer, tweaked the canister's release mechanism, cursing every jam. "I'm building a zoo that explodes," he'd snapped, his sarcasm a razor. By early 1943, they'd moved to Carlsbad for live drops. The setup was simple: load bats with timed napalm, drop them from a plane, let them roost in wooden targets, and watch the fires spread. But bats don't read manuals. Some ignited in the air, tiny meteors plummeting to the sand. Others slept through the drop, useless lumps in the canister. Adams, ever the optimist, saw each failure as a step forward. "We're learning," he'd insist, dodging Stiles' glare. "Learning what?" Stiles shot back. "How to set our own base on fire." The Carlsbad fire, though, is a new low. The The team scrambles to salvage something, data, dignity, anything. Von Blocher collects singed bat corpses, muttering, "At least they went out in a blaze of glory." Fieser, unfazed, jots notes on burned patterns, his lighter flicking absently. "Napalm's solid," he says, voice dry. "Pity the bats aren't." Adams, ignoring the general's tirade, sketches adjustments to the canister, convinced the next test will crack it. The military, however, isn't amused. A colonel's telegram arrives, blunt as a bayonet. Results or reassignment. Desperate to rebound, the team shifts to Muroc Lake, California, for a scaled-up test. 6,000 bats, fitted with dummy bombs, are loaded into canisters. The drop is a disaster. Half the bats, overchilled, never wake, littering the desert like discarded toys. The rest scatter, vanishing into the horizon, leaving Styles to quip, "Congratulations, Adams. You've just liberated the world's most useless air force." The failure stings, but Adams rallies the team, his voice fierce. "We're close," he insists. "One good test, and they'll see." That test comes at WWII Proving Ground, Utah, in a mock-up called Japanese Village. Wooden shacks mimicking Tokyo's flammable sprawl. The team, battered but determined, preps a smaller batch. 500 bats, napalm live, dropped at dawn. This time it works. The canister opens flawlessly, bats fan out, roosting in rafters and crevices. One by one, their capsules ignite, sparks blooming into fires that devour the village. The team watches, silent, as flames paint the sky. Von Blocher, usually dour, cracks a grim smile. "They're better arsonists than we deserve," he says, his sarcasm laced with awe. Adams feels a surge of vindication. The data's staggering. One canister could start thousands of fires, outpacing traditional incendiaries. He imagines Japan burning, his bats rewriting war's playbook. But the victory's fragile. The military's patience is thinning, and whispers of a secret weapon, something bigger, deadlier, reach the team. Styles, packing up at WWII, eyes Adams. "Nice show, Doc," he says, voice sharp. "But if this doesn't scale, we're just playing with matches." That night, Adams stands outside the team's makeshift lab, the desert cold biting his skin. He lights a cigarette, the flame a tiny echo of his dream. The bats, caged nearby, squeak in the dark, oblivious to their role. "You're my shot," he murmurs, his smirk wry. "Don't let me down." The fire at Carlsbad, the flop at Muroc, the triumph at WWII, they're all steps in a dance he's barely leading. The war's accelerating, and Adams knows time's running out. Either Project X-ray soars, or it crashes in flames. He exhales smoke, the ember glowing like a warning. El Centro, California, late 1943. The desert heat shimmers, a relentless pulse against the corrugated tin of the Navy's new testing hangar. Dr. Lytle Adams paces inside, his shirt stained with sweat, his clipboard a map of obsession. Project X-ray has survived the Carlsbad Inferno, the Muroc flop, and the WWII triumph, but survival isn't enough. The Navy and Marine Corps, now calling the shots, want results by mid-1945, or the plug gets pulled. Adams' dream of 1,000,000 bats torching Japan feels closer than ever, but the air's thick with doubt, and his team's starting to fray. The hangar buzzes with grim focus. Dr. Jack von Blocher, sleeves rolled up, calibrates the bat fridge, ensuring the Mexican free-tailed bats stay hibernated until their dawn drop. His beard's grayer now, his sarcasm sharper. "We're running a 5-star hotel for kamikaze bats," he mutters, tweaking a coolant valve. "Hope they leave a good review before they burn." Dr. Louis Fieser, hunched over a workbench, tests a new napalm capsule. Its half-ounce payload designed to stick tighter, burn hotter. He flicks his lighter, eyes glinting. "If Japan doesn't melt," he says, voice dry, "it's not my fault." Captain Henry Styles, the engineer, curses at a canister prototype, its parachute mechanism still jamming. "This thing's moodier than my ex," he snaps, his sarcasm a shield against the ticking clock. Adams pushes them hard, his dentist's charm eroded by months of sleepless nights. The canister, meant to hold 1,040 bats, deploy via parachute, and scatter them over miles, is nearly perfect. A recent test saw bats fan out flawlessly, roosting in mock targets with eerie precision. The data's a lifeline. One load could spark thousands of fires, outstripping any bomber raid. Adams sees Tokyo ablaze, his bats rewriting war's rules. But perfection's fragile. The Navy's breathing down their necks, and the team's unity is cracking. Tensions flare in the hangar's heat. Fieser, obsessed with napalm's burn radius, snaps at von Blocher for slowing tests to save bats. They're weapons, Jack, not pets, he growls, tossing a spent capsule. Von Blocher, eyes flashing, shoots back. Yeah? Tell that to the ones we're gluing to oblivion. His voice drips with mordant irony, a biologist mourning the creatures he's weaponizing. Styles, caught in the middle, slams a wrench down. Both of you quit bickering, he says. I'm not building coffins for bats or egos. Adams, trying to hold the line, feels the strain. His vision's clear, but the team's morale is a house of cards. The military's doubts hit harder. A Navy commander, all starch and sneer, visits El Centro, eyeing the bat fridge like it's a bad joke. Why bats, Adams? He demands, voice cutting. We've got B-29s, napalm by the ton. What's your flying vermin got that we don't? Adams, throat tight, leans in. Stealth, sir. Bats don't show on radar. They hit where bombs can't. The commander's unimpressed, his parting shot brutal. Deliver, or you're done. As he leaves, Styles mutters, nice guy. Bet he kicks puppies for fun. The sarcasm lands, but it doesn't ease the dread. Worse, rumors swirl of a secret weapon, something called the gadget, whispered to be cataclysmic. It's a shadow over X-ray, a hint that Adams' bats might be outclassed before they fly. Feezer, lighting a cigarette, shrugs it off. If we fail, he says, someone else will burn the Pacific. No shortage of fire in this war. His casual fatalism chills Adams, who staked everything, career, sanity, on this project. Failure's not just professional, it's personal. A final test in December 1943 offers hope. The team, battered but defiant, preps a canister with 800 bats, napalm live. Dropped at dawn, it works like a dream. The parachute opens, bats disperse, roosting in wooden targets across a mile-wide range. Fires bloom, small at first, then ferocious, painting the desert red. The team watches, silent, as the blaze mirrors Adams' vision. Von Blocher, voice low, quips, "We've turned bats into the devil's own air force." Even Styles nods, grudging respect in his eyes. Not bad, Doc, he says. For a tooth puller. Adams feels a fleeting rush, vindication, maybe glory. He imagines scaling up, a fleet of bombers unleashing millions of bats, Japan crumbling under nature's wrath. But the moment's brittle. The Navy's deadline looms, and the team's exhausted. Von Blocher's haunted by bat corpses, Feezer's chasing perfection, Styles is burned out. Adams, alone in the hangar after hours, stares at a caged bat, its wings twitching. You're my legacy, he whispers, his smirk grim. Or my obituary. Outside, the desert night is cold, stars sharp as knives. Adams lights a cigarette, the ember a faint echo of his dream. The war's a beast, and X-ray's just one claw. He exhales smoke, the commander's words ringing. Deliver, or you're done. The bats squeak in their cages, oblivious to the stakes. Adams knows the truth. They're close, but close might not be enough. Something bigger's coming, and his fire-winged dream might burn out before it flies. El Centro, California, mid-1944. The desert night is a sharp chill, stars cutting through the dark above the Navy's testing hangar. Dr. Lytle Adams sits on a rusted chair, a telegram crumpled in his shaking hands. The message is a gut punch. Project X-ray terminated. Insufficient progress for wartime needs. Fleet Admiral E.J. King. 2 years, $2 million, countless dead bats, and a dentist's relentless dream. Wiped out in a single order. The military's reasoning is cold. X-rays too slow, too unpredictable, and the war demands a faster, deadlier blow. A secret project, the gadget, a city killer whispered to be near completion, has siphoned resources, leaving Adams' bats obsolete. The hangar, once a hive of hope, is a tomb, its bat fridge silent, its canisters scrapped. The team's gone, scattered like embers. Dr. Louis Feezer, napalm's dark genius, bolted for Harvard, tossing his lighter with a dry quip. Someone else can burn the world down. Dr. Jack von Blocher, worn by bat carcasses, retreated to his caves, muttering, "Nature's better off without our help." Captain Henry Styles, who wrestled canisters into existence, took a bomber gig, his parting jab sharp. Back to teeth, document war's got no room for pets. The technicians vanished, their refrigerated dreams junked. Adams, the dreamer who roped them in, is alone, a napalm capsule heavy in his pocket. He stumbles outside, the desert air knifing his lungs. A nearby cave pulses. Mexican free-tailed bats, free of glue and fire, dance in the dusk. Adams stares, his face a map of exhaustion and betrayal. 2 years of his life, sleepless nights, burned bases, fleeting triumphs, tossed aside because some brass decided Adams trump wings. I gave you everything, he rasps, voice cracking, not to the bats but to the dream that consumed him. Carlsbad Dugway, every damn failure. And for what? His laugh is bitter, a man staring at his own ruin. He'd pictured Japan ablaze, his bats rewriting war. Instead, he's a footnote, discarded for a weapon he'll never see. The military's logic stings. X-rays bats, even at their best, can't match the gadget's apocalyptic promise. The war's a sprint now, and Adams' project, with its finicky canisters and hibernating swarms, is a marathon they won't run. He clenches the telegram, its edges tearing. They didn't even let us finish, he mutters, anger flaring. He thinks of the team's sacrifices, von Blocher's guilt, Fieser's obsession, Styles' precision, all for nothing. The $2 million feels like blood money, a price for his naivety. Adams pulls out a cigarette, hands trembling as he lights it. The ember flares, a weak echo of his vision. He tosses the telegram into a fire pit, watching it blacken. You flew free, he says to the bats, his smirk grim. Wish I could say the same. The flames die fast, like his hope. Project X-ray fades into classified vaults, a bizarre blip in a war racing toward devastation. Adams turns from the cave, the napalm capsule a cold weight in his hand. Irwin waits, drills patience, a life he barely remembers. The war will end, not with his fire, but with a blast that rewrites history. He walks into the dark, a man who bet big and lost bigger.